Hi folks, welcome to a special edition of Serverless Craic, live from AWS reInvent in sunny Las Vegas. It's roasting hot. My name is Dave Anderson, technical fellow for Bizarre Voice and contributor to Serverless Edge. Mark, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yep, Mark McCann, author at the Serverless Edge, stay-at-home dad, watching reInvent talks all morning.
Hey, yeah, Michael O'Reilly, architect with Globalization Partners and contributor with the Serverless Edge.
Good stuff. So it's been a really busy week as usual. It's good to be. I think it's good to be back in person at an event. I'm sitting here in one of the areas. Smaller event this year. It was usually 60,000. I think it was 20,000 this year, and people have been very good about wearing masks. I'm gonna sit down at the table, so I've got a glass of water here, so I'm okay. But everyone's wearing masks and we're very kind of disciplined about sanitization and social distance. So it's pretty good. But interesting event. But I think the place we have to start is Matt Coulter did his keynote with Werner Vogels, Amazon CTO, this morning, which was absolutely incredible. What did you think of that?
I was awesome. Matt did a fantastic job. I think he brought a lot of energy and really brought to life the journey that all three of us have played a part in. So he nailed it. It's so proud of everything he's accomplished there, and I think it's just recognition for the massive part he's played in the whole thing, and CDK Patterns, and getting the Builders Award was just the icing on the cake. Like, so, I think it's a great recognition for what we already knew, but it's good for the world to see it.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah. No, I just came away from that sort of watching it, just being, it was just put together so well, and I completely agree. Like Matt, he blew the doors off it. I was just texting him or just say congrats, and hopefully he'll have a good day ahead of him after that. I'm sure it's a weight off his shoulders. So the message was phenomenal, and super proud.
And I think the messaging will really cut through for a lot of big companies or enterprises who are trying to transform, right? And you talked about that earlier, Dave. It's not about migration anymore; it's about transformation. And I think that story helps at least give people a narrative that it's possible, and you can do it, and it is even for big old enterprises, it's achievable.
Yeah, I mean, I was just with Matt there about 10 minutes ago. We were talking about it. We were in the serverless and container zone with a bunch of a lot of the serverless folk. We were all over chatting. There was a dance off between Sam and CDK, which was good crack. Organized chaos. But Matt's on cloud nine, like, and he completely nailed it. It's really good to see, like, and there's definitely a narrative about it's moved away from migrations, and which is very consistent with what we've been saying in the Serverless Edge. Once you get to the cloud, what happens? Yeah. And that's about how do you transform your organization? How do you tighten up all your engineering standards and stuff? And the Liberty Mutual example is it's perfect. It's absolutely brilliant. Like, so I know he's knocked it out of the park. Super proud of him. I was up in the front row cheering him on. You couldn't see me.
No, and that's interesting as well. Like, in terms of that narrative, because you are like this year more than I don't know if I didn't just maybe I'm not sort of noticing as much in last year's, but I'm starting to see serverless be talked about by lots of bigger organizations. I think we've seen Citi mentioned, Capital One mentioned, large financial institutions. There's a bunch of talks there I kind of need to get through, but there definitely seems to be that trend, where it's being embraced that way by the big companies, and it's making it out there. So which is great.
Yeah, and not just serverless. I think CDK is really cut through as well. I think I've seen some of the comments about 1,500 lines down to 14 lines, and people say, oh, but you've abstracted away that stuff. I think that's where, like, and we've always seen this as well. Well architected counterbalances that. Right, it's okay to abstract away this stuff, and it's okay to hide it and make it more cognitively lower that burden, I guess. But you got to counteract that with the well-architected framework to make sure that the teams and developers understand the resources that are being deployed with those 14 lines, right? So I think CDK has really exploded throughout a lot of the talks, and a lot of the materials I've been reviewing all morning have a large part of it has CDK at the heart of it, which is great to see.
Yeah, and then they've announced CDK version 2 as well. Like, so you just see it's just ramping up the whole time. And then they also announced the sustainability pillar being added well architected. And again, talking to Adrian Cockcroft about some of that stuff as well. Like, and he's doing a fantastic job and adding in sustainability as part of the AWS narrative. So it was really good to see how Werner Vogels talked about that today, and get the carbon cost tool as well. What's it called again?
Carbon cost tool.
Yeah,
so basically a carbon calculator.
That gets to be interesting. So you can actually, if you can take an account ID, you can say my workloads and my account in this region, what's the carbon cost, and then you can effectively, compare and contrast. Like, and it is possible to have an almost carbon neutral workload. If you had a very serverless heavy workload in a really good region, like say like Ireland, you could have a really, really low carbon cost. And I think when companies start to see that, and there's other regions that are the code would be dirty because they're maybe using a lot of coal. So yes, it's fascinating to see when the whole plays out.
Yeah, and there's lots of great announcements around sustainability, around green zones, about offsetting their stuff, about the renewable energy across all the Amazon sort of ecosystem, which is great to see. I think it's not just greenwash; it's a holistic approach. The tool is only one element of that. I think the sustainability pillar that came out from well architected really is a great sort of white paper that really wraps it up in a very mature way. And some of the high level stuff of just skimming through it is it's very good. It's got legs. This will hopefully drive a lot of good practice.
A lot of smart people behind it. Like, so I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but yeah, it's not just a greenwash. It's a sea change in how we write software. Like, that's what it needs to be. So yeah.
They've been clearly taking their time with it, so obviously they've been trying to sort of get it right. So it'd be good to kind of sift through it and post reinvent and really get the grips with it and kind of
I've decomposed a little bit. Understand your impact, establish sustainability goals, maximize utilization, use managed services, anticipate and adopt new, more efficient hardware and software, use managed services, and reduce the downstream impact of your cloud workloads. There's a load of principles you can get behind. That's good stuff. And it's very similar to the serverless sort of first mindset approach that we've been articulating. So it's, I think if you've embraced serverless first, you're already a long way down this road.
You're halfway there. Like, yeah, no, that's brilliant. I hadn't heard them yet. They're brilliant. I like the way Werner phrased it as well about it's the shared responsibility model that AWS have had since day one. It's sustainability of the cloud is their job. Sustainability in the cloud is your job as the customer. Yeah. So I thought that was a nice split. And if you go manage services, you're going well. Speaking of which, I thought Ali Spittle was good today on the Amplify Studio stuff. That's I mean, we've been looking at that for a while now. It just looks brilliant. Can't wait to play with that.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, anytime anyone mentions this low code, you kind of go, I kind of wince a wee bit, but certainly the examples that she went through in that talk look genuinely pretty good. And then when you think about the integration capability that something like Amplify has in order to be able to tie, those UI or UX components to those downstream services and be able to create those mobile desktop apps, that's phenomenal. And then even recently, I've been kicking around in Figma just in my own time, because it is a pretty good tool and sort of bringing that sort of stuff in. The fact that they're integrating that, it's a huge kind of win there. So that'll be a cool one to play around with after.
I think it's a game changer. I think it's low code, but it's developer first. It's developer friendly. It's what it generates and what it creates for you is very developer centric. So it's not just magic, hand wavy abstraction layers. It actually has integrations and with the announcement of their extensions as well. You can go from your designer through your developer through to the back end in a holistic, comprehensive fashion and back again. So and again the integrations with CDK that they announced as well. They're it's phenomenal. You can see the whole ecosystem just all coming together beautifully.
And I think when you sit and map it out as well, it's fascinating. And that thing about primitives, they're creating building blocks. We
Oh
put
yeah.
them together and they're creating advanced capability. So you can always deconstruct it to see what's inside. But why would you? You know? So
Yeah.
it's fascinating.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's the bit I think that I probably, I'd like to kind of go and play around with, because I think if I can wrap my head around taking, the Amplify kind of product, what you go through there and like say a rapid experimentation mode, and then say be able to extract that into CDK constructs and be able to break it up and scale it out across multiple teams. I think that would be a really interesting exercise, and I think that's certainly where I'll probably be trying to kick the tires on it a wee bit.
Yeah, I think with the extensions and the CDK interactions, that's exactly what they're aiming for, which is great. But again, game changer, and again, it lowers the barrier to developers and teams and companies wanting to do that rapid product delivery from design all the way through.
I think as well, there's I liked a lot of the data. Swami in the keynote he's the lead of ML. A really good dialogue with data, how you manage their data, and that data-driven enterprise, and that's very much part of that transformation. It's like, what are you measuring this? And I've been in a few conversations with people like, we're going to transform, but we don't know what to. And a lot of what Amazon are trying to do is just coach people through that and help them set goals.
Yeah, really. And I've been watching a couple of talks this morning from some of the enterprise strategists, and data-driven enterprise is going to be a key sort of term here. Like we would talk about this a lot about observability and having observability of your entire org and getting real insights into what's going on. That's what a data-driven enterprise means. And they broke it up into 4 buckets around culture, your organization, the mechanisms, those processes that you want to actually run, and then how do you actually execute. And again, it's very in line with what we're talking about in the upcoming book and the value flywheel. I think it's gone from just being here, dump everything in the data lake and hope for the best. It's all about focusing on your real needs, Wardley mapping style, and making sure that the data can actually meet those needs, and you can drive your enterprise to meet those needs appropriately. So it's a very mature sort of stance they're taking with being much more data driven, and they have, and again, with all the managed services that are available now, with all the even seeing some of the announcements around QuickSight coming through as well, getting a bit more horsepower behind it. It's all there. It's just a matter of using it in the right fashion and focusing on those needs of your org and bringing data to bear to really help you improve. So lots of good stuff and loads more to dig into over the next number of days and weeks.
And I've had so many conversations this week with people you kind of meet, and you definitely see the rise of kind of Wardley mapping and that idea of mapping your stack and getting rid of the stuff that you don't need and just go really lasering in on your differentiator, your value proposition. So you can see that again and again and again, that dialogue stands up like.
That's awesome.
Speaking of which, I mean, I thought who was it? Goldman Sachs. It was really interesting, the idea of that. What was it? A financial cloud. What was it called again? Financial cloud with Goldman Sachs. Like
the financial services.
Yeah, like it's like an industry vertical, a lead sort of adopter of cloud, creating a capability and then almost bringing that back and sending it back out again. So AWS is a product. I thought that was a really interesting pattern, and I can see that being repeated. Yeah,
it's the Goldman Sachs Financial Cloud for data.
So they're exposing all their data to all their, with everyone else, which is crazy. Like, so it's
But again, it's back to your point there about the don't do undifferentiated heavy lifting. For the likes of Goldman and all these big financial sort of verticals, the more interactions or more integration they can have with AWS, let AWS take care of the operational excellence and the resiliency and the scale and the globalization. And so Goldman can focus on what truly differentiates them. It's all their historical financial data and insights and all the sort of analyst sort of stuff that they have.
Yeah, building those higher order systems.
Yep.
That's it. Like, and if you're a lower order system, then good luck to you. So it's been an interesting week, like, and then obviously a lot of conversations about serverless too. Like, you see serverless everywhere, serverless analytics. It's even so many good stories. Like, it's not a niche thing anymore. It is becoming the main kind of dialogue. So that message is very strong through the event.
Yeah, it really is. I've seen like lots of great announcements about serverless capabilities, whether it's across their database offerings, whether it's across the data offerings, or even some of the machine learning stuff. You can see there's almost an evolution of get a managed service out and then evolve it to being a serverless managed service over time.
Yeah. No, there's tons there, and again, even the serverless security stuff that I'm seeing in there is pretty good. That's seeing decks around it, that stuff. There was another wee announcement in there I thought was really good this week, and I'm sort of been looking at is the CloudWatch RUM. Real user monitoring.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be one to play around with, I think, as well. But really arm those serverless apps with some good instrumentation, and take that for a spin.
And again, we've all been in these scenarios where we want to use some capability, but you have to do contract negotiation or you have to do licensing. Having it all holistically within AWS means that you, as a developer, can experiment and play with these things without any sort of hindrance or any impediments to that feedback loop. So again, having more of these capabilities in the AWS ecosystem just speeds that developer velocity, allows you to really experiment much more rapidly. So it's the RUM stuff is a big one, because we've all played with some of those analytics tools, and they're challenging sometimes, right?
Yeah, no, 100%.
Well, especially if you've got 3 or 4 of them in the company, it's a disaster.
Yeah, and if you can keep that configuration with your workload and just shift it, with it, I think that's phenomenally good. So yeah, that's great.
So it's been a super interesting event. Like, there's definitely lots of energy around stuff, and I think huge amount of customers in AWS is mental. It's like 100,000 or something. Huge amount of companies are on, so it's just the scale is just insane. But it's good to see it. Like, I mean, it's definitely a lot of things. One thing I did here is that I was thinking a lot of the announcements are almost incremental. So there's very little kind of game changer new announcements. Everything's kind of just incrementally building up the stack. You can almost predict the changes, which isn't a bad thing. It's consistency. It's just there's a path there that's been laid out, or a pathfinder, as they described it on one of the first things. So
yeah, no, that's good. And you're seeing a lot of the machine learning stuff being integrated in the developer tools as well. See, the DevOps Guru is expanding for RDS now, and you can see that just expanding more and more. And you've seen it with GitHub Copilot as well. That using machine learning, using that intelligence to really guide and the developer experience and make it more rapid. You can see over time the Amplify experience being incorporating some of that machine learning as well. Just as these primitives get wired together, the machine learning stuff will accelerate it even more and guide you along those sort of well-architected best practice paths.
That's it. Very good. So that's the crack. It's been a crazy week as ever. People think it's good fun, but you're meeting someone at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then you're still meeting someone at 11 o'clock at night. So you're talking about cloud for like 15 hours, 16 hours. So it's
how's your feet? How's the steps? 30,000 a day, or what are you doing?
Imagine. Well, it's lunchtime. I've done 10,000 steps. So yeah, it's just constantly walking. Feet are wrecked, but that's crack. It's good fun.
Enjoy it.
So that's us then. We'll stick a couple of links in the show notes to kind of show some of the talks, and I think there's a few talks that we'll need to deep dive into in the future. Huge amount of content there. A lot of it will get posted online. You can just watch it for free, so it's a great event to actually figure out. But we'll try and help people navigate that, because there's an awful lot of talks. And have a look at the blog as well at the serverlessedge.com, and also on Twitter at Serverless Edge. Follow it. So thanks very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.